in this charming car, this charming man. White panther loves complexity when the leather runs smooth on the passenger seat. I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. This man said it's gruesome that someone so handsome should care. A young up country boy who never knew his place, he said, return the ring. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things. I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely audience. Good to see you back. We got a kind of an alternate streaming setup right here. I'm not using the green screen because, frankly, it just seemed unnecessary and just kind of experimenting with different lighting. So good to see you. Thank you so much for being here with me to talk about mining for today. A couple of things. I want to give a big shout out to Branding Coin for being the first to cover the brand new NiceHash platform, or at least the first to hit my radar to cover the brand new NiceHash mining platform. We're going to talk about that. It's relevant. It's going to come up today. Any discussion of mining profits has to take NiceHash and similar marketplaces seriously, right? I mean, if we're not taking that seriously, then we're not really facing the reality. But Dead, thank you so much. Compliments to Stash. You're not going to believe this. I don't know what it is. I got some lucky numbers in the genetic lottery because I literally don't even use mustache wax. I just kind of like get out of the shower, hang on the whiskers for a second, and then they just chill out like this all day. I don't know. Maybe I'm distantly related to Santa Claus. Whatever. We'll find out. I'm sure we can take one of those genetic tests as soon as they stop asking us to turn over all the rights to every single gene pair in our genome. Maybe I'll take one of those DNA tests. At any rate, so I've got Alan asking some questions here. We're going to go back to that really fast. And Jonathan K saying that he's thinking of switching back to NiceHash. Guys, I appreciate you starting things off with such brilliant questions and such brilliant comments. This matters right now, right? If we're not taking every possible avenue towards profit seriously, then, we're not treating our mining like a business. So without further ado, let me jump out of the big screen and hop into the little screen right now. First off, this episode is brought to you by mineyour.biz/blog. We have so many resources available for free. We've got the officially licensed, what is it? We've got permission to reprint, so we actually officially syndicated some of the content from Zcoin, their privacy technology comparison, which is brilliant. It covers Mimblewimble versus ring signatures and CTs versus what they previously used for Zcoin, which was the Zero Coin protocol, versus what they're currently using, which is the Sigma protocol. There's just a lot of really great content here. It's a very long and it's actually a very pithy read. It's really deep material, but their lead developer Ruben Yap goes really far out of his way to explain it. So I made sure that we got permission to reprint it here. Same with some of the other stuff we have here. If you know Crypto Christopher Walken, great article on the dangers of spec mining, and we've got permission to reprint it here. And any future updates we've syndicated there. The complete HiveOS training, the evergreen GPU mining efficiency charts, which you can freely fork or download to your own Google Drive folder and then customize to your heart's content. And hey, pro tip, if you really want to put in the work to gather all the data, those same calculations will work for you. I'm basically teaching you how to do this sort of a spreadsheet for yourself with any kind of hardware. If you're into CPU, FPGA, what have you, you can use that same formula, make new sheets, rinse and repeat. Up to you. But that's my gift to the community, ongoing, my commitment. For a little while we had, I think downloads were broken on that spreadsheet. No more. So it's all on mineyour.biz/blog. All right, so what I wanted to talk about today, and you saw it in that main title. I'm going to jump back out to that title really fast so you can see it. And there's going to be a little bit of background audio, so So pardon that. And Jonathan K, man, I totally agree. The guy is just a phenomenal community aggregator, phenomenal all-around guy. So here we've got for today the possible at-home mining picks. We're going to go over some profits for across the board. And then we're going to go over FPGAs kind of a little bit more in depth as much as we can today. Now, why? Because, again, real talk, I do not like speculating. I do not like talking about forward-looking statements. You'll notice that to date, I have still not gone out of my way to test an Acorn. And I've had people literally throwing them at me. Boxes full of them, throwing them at me, asking me to test them, and I feel like it does a disservice to the community when a product is not ready. It's not even admittedly in the alpha stage or beta stage with its software, and then I say, yeah, for sure, I'll do this. It's a little bit hypocritical because you've also heard me talk about how with GPUs, the highest possible profit margin comes in finding unexploited little product niches like I did with the AMD Pro Duo and like I identified last year early with the AMD Vega FE. And the Vega FE, people who got on board early and were able to overcome some of the problems of mining with multiple cards on the same rig, they experienced phenomenal profits on crypto note mining. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that. Everybody has to do their own research. Everybody has to decide what their own risk tolerance, the threshold is. And so that's totally up to you. Again, this is not financial, legal, or business advice. You got to do your own research. Don't get wrecked. It's at the end of the day, it's always up to you, right? It's like your health. It's like your wealth, your personal finance, your relationships. Don't blame me, if your wife says like you've spent too much money on mining gear. That's your problem. I can't own that, right? We're big boys and girls in the audience. Good. Okay, got that out of the way. But let's jump back into the title really fast. What's popular in FPGAs, and we'll talk about what's available today and kind of some popular options. I'll try not to speak outside of my own experience or outside of my direct conversations with developers or with hardware manufacturers. So another caveat. Do I test every single product on the market? No. You know who does a phenomenal job of that? Bits be trippin'. He's phenomenal at testing a bunch of different GPUs. Does he always get it right? Is he always flawless? Does he ever flub on camera? Of course. The other day, I think he forgot to use DDU and forgot to allocate 16 gigs of virtual memory on a Windows testing bench. Who cares? The guy's been doing this for more years than the next two miners combined. I think he's allowed to make a mistake or two because he's contributed so much value to the mining community. So, I don't know. Somebody said something negative about him the other day to me. They're like, "Oh, he looked like a dummy on stream." I'm like, "You look like a dummy on stream. You look like a dummy making fun of him." Homeboy's got serious skills. As a consultant, he's in demand too. He's got a schedule that's fairly packed as far as people who want his time and expertise. So, anyway, respect the heck out of him, Carter. If you're watching, I love your work, man. I love your work. Keep up the good work. All right, so I'm going to try to speak. Again, the actual caveat was that I don't test everything the way that he does, especially in FPGAs. Apologies. I'm going to have a couple of runaway thoughts here, but we'll bring those tangents back around, I promise. You know what you tuned into, right? You know what you're in for. But with FPGAs, I have spoken to developers. I have spoken directly to multiple developers, actually, and not Bitstream developers as much. I'll tell you right now that Whitefire's time is very, very valuable. Too rich for my blood. But I have spoken to some of the hardware manufacturers, not going to name names, and I'm not going to, divulge any private information from those conversations. But there is stuff that I have talked to them about that I think is important for the community to sort of acknowledge right now. And hey, I know that earns me some haters. To the haters that are like, "Oh, Seth, you can't be open, and that's why people don't sub to you. That's why you have 10 likes on this video." Get a life. I'm just going to say that straight up to anybody that has a problem with that. Or get a job. Like, work in the real world where there are actual NDAs that you have to honor. Or handshake agreements where you have to be a person that other people trust. Can we move past that too? Great, thanks. Okay, so, Crypto Dave, thank you so much for the vote of confidence, the love, and the comments. Hero Y, 11 likes now. I appreciate that. I actually wasn't fishing for compliments there, fishing for likes. Just to say that, guys, there are realities, right? In the real world, there are realities that we have to deal with. And the more you move outside of the little leagues, the harsher the reality. It's real life, man. There are harsh realities. And so you don't violate NDAs. You don't go into dark gray territory where you're likely to be the subject of litigation. It's just stupid, right? I've got a family to take care of. Why would I subject myself to that level of risk when I could instead just be a little bit more measured in my commentary, try to stick to the facts wherever I can, and try to bring as much value as I can based on the conversations that I've had with developers and hardware manufacturers? It seems reasonable, right? I think it is, but, you know, your mileage may vary. All right, so that was the disclaimer. I don't test every single thing that comes out. I will say that, for example, there's a brand new FPGA that's coming out to the market. It's not actually available for retail just yet, the FK33, if you've been paying attention, that developers have gotten developer samples of. I don't have a sample of that for review. And I've even told the team that develops it that if there was one earmarked for me, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I don't do digital signal processing, and I'm not a bitstream developer. I mean, I make jokes about like forking code repos and stuff because that stuff is easy, right? And you've seen me do it live. As a noob, as somebody who doesn't really even know what he's doing, just following like paint by numbers, some of the forking guides, I made a crypto note in under an hour, spun up the 2 seed nodes, and we were off to the races. We were mining a brand new coin in under an hour. Imagine if I actually got good at that. I could make a dozen new coins a day. So again, I'm gonna admit ignorance where I have some. Don't want anybody to think that I'm. And Faded says that was fun. Man, I totally agree. And you know what? Rocksteady was super cool about that too. He was super generous with his time. He didn't have to do that with me, but he did. So shout out to Rocksteady. Shout out to the Turtle Crew. Very, very good people. So just saying, guys, lifelong learner, lifelong student. Try to have that beginner's mind. Try to be very zen about what it is that I do. As you know, it's hard to keep that mindset. So again, big shout out to Carter because he does try to test this stuff on the regular. Big shout out to Wes Weisenhorst, not your normal miner, who goes really far out of his way to show his findings on poolside hash rate for different coins that he's actively mining and just saying, hey, I got better returns, better shares returned on this pool. He's very open and very generous with his time. A lot of generous creators in the space. So I'm generally not okay with hearing people tear others down. Rant over. Let's get back to the topic at hand. So what's popular in FPGA? What's coming up in FPGA? We can speak confidently to that because there is some stuff coming up. I see Derek Christopher in the comments. Thank you for saying hello. And then, guys, last but not least, where to start today. Again, huge caveats here. Not legal, business, financial, or other advice. So do your own research. Don't get wrecked. This is just one data point of many, and it's painted very heavily. I'm painting a picture with broad strokes, right? And so you're going to see that the way that I view it, right? So make up your own mind, obviously. But let's jump back into the meat and potatoes, guys. We know we're sponsored by mineyour.biz/blog. Let's take a look at some content that's published by FPGA Guide. Disclosure, the team at FPGA Guide has reached out to me and talked to me about possible future publications that they're interested in doing. And I think that what they're doing is, I think they're doing a decent job of publishing a lot of content related to FPGA. So if you haven't been using the resources, you might consider it. So I'm on fpga.guide/en/mining-profit-calculator. Some of the address above is occluded, so I apologize for that. But here's a profitability calculator, and I'm going to put in some generic values. Let's just say that the average power consumption for my device is 150. I'm going to pop that up to 350. That's a little more in line, again, real talk, a little more in line with what BCU or CVP13 actually consumes. And then cost, I'm going to put the national average of 10 cents per kilowatt hour. As we know, that's not always the case when you get your bill each month. I've been getting a rude awakening with my at-home mining because I'm not used to mining at home. I'm used to mining either in an office space or in a warehouse space where we have commercial or industrial rates. So it sucked. I'm just going to say that it was not fun. So I'm probably going to go back to warehouse pretty soon, guys. Be expecting some kind of probably private in the Discord or private within the community, the announcement that I'm going to be like, hey, I found extra power, more than I need. So maybe some local folks or people who are in the inner circle, so to speak, in the community, maybe offering some colo when I get better power rates there. Watch out for that. We're going to get a ton of new members who are like, hey, Seth, remember me? We're best buds. I heard you got that 3-cent power. I don't know. I'm not making any promises there, but I'm going to look for something a little more power efficient than mining at home. Get those profits back. So right here, guys, the mining profitability calculator, I'm pretty happy with what this shows. And right now, I've got a video in the works. You probably heard me talk about it, hint at it for a while. Got everything pre-recorded. We just haven't published it just yet. But a how to mine Moveo on CVP13. You can see right here, the approximate power consumption for Moveo on CVP13 would be about 350 watts. And so if this is my power rate, then this is approximately what I would expect to earn. I'm not going to put in exact numbers. These are all estimates. But Moveo right there, you see daily revenue about $2.11, and with a profit margin of just over $1. Let's go down the list. These are some common numbers for a couple of common FPGA devices, and I've got the profit at the very bottom there included. Let me see if I can move my... We'll do a live drift of my video, and I'll just pop it out of the frame. There we go. I disappear. Voila. All right, so the very bottom, algo 6_1 with massive volume. Oh, not massive volume. Sorry, $100 a day. Dang, that's like nothing. But the profit is really high for the privileged few that actually get in on that. And we've got a bit of a disconnect here, guys. This is one of the problems that a lot of people are seeing with FPGAs or with front running or being a jet setter in the at-home mining scene, is that if you've got a coin, even when profits are really high for the day, if you've got really low volume for that coin, you've got to figure out what the most advantageous strategy is for you to actually unload those coins, right? So $2.71 a day on any coin. If I told you those are your profits for Ethereum, for example, and then I said you got $2.71 a day on Ethereum daily profit, but here's the catch. If you liquidate everything you just earned, you're actually going to influence the market because you're over 2% of the daily volume. It changes the value of at-home mining, right? It changes the entire business proposition of what you're doing. It's pretty tricky. So let's jump back in. You've already seen that bottommost number there, but just above it, algo 6_3. That one's got over 10,000 in daily profit. Now, at that one, at almost $2 per day, starts to make sense. You follow? So, well, I must be doing something right with this stash because it keeps getting mentioned in the comments. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Again, can't take credit for it. Mother Nature won the genetic lottery. Lucky numbers. They were like, hey, Seth, boom, here you go. Mustache. So, but just above that, guys, there aren't many other coins that are super high in profit. Bitcoin Diamond is over $1 a day, and then Moveo over $1 a day. They're actually only within a few cents of each other, given the sort of baseline configuration that I've put here, with a power consumption of about 350 watts daily. So leave that right there. So this is our starting point, guys. This is our starting point for the conversation. I wanted to make sure that we just had very real talk about the current state of FPGA mining. If you're actively watching right now, you're in the comments, throw out some price points. What are price points that you have seen various popular FPGAs go for right now? Whether new or used, I don't care. But what are you seeing in the market right now? Because a bit like GPUs, right? Even if they're used, they'll still mine. So what are you seeing? Tell me down below in the comments. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in this content. We'll jump back as we get interactive with some of those price points that you name. But I want to talk about the current bitstream that I have been talking about releasing that how-to video of. And that is the Dead Miraz Moveo bitstream. So just up here, there you go, Moveo. This is a little bit about the Dead Miraz bitstreams, but we'll leave it right there at Moveo. And okay, Hero Y is saying that he's seen some BCUs selling for around the 3,500 mark on the SQRL Discord. Wow. Okay, so I'm just taking for granted these might be modded, they might be water cooled, and they might have custom air heat sinks on them, or some other custom heat sinks around the board, some other optimizations maybe of the physical build. Tech Guru is also saying he's seeing 1525 BCU 1525 go for about 2,500, and I've got to say that's about in line with what I think I've seen, right? And people who are reaching out to me privately, sellers who have multiples who want to try to move things. Again, if you've been active in the Discord, you know I will sometimes just forward some of those alerts without actually trying to scalp or trying to get any kind of a finder's fee there. I just don't think there's quite enough profit. there's not quite enough margin on FPGAs for me to do any kind of reselling or any kind of brokering there. So I'm not interested in that. I'd much rather make sure the community gets what they need. So, yeah, somebody's saying 2,500. Derek saying, ouch. We're saying this because if you're uninitiated or you haven't been looking at BCU the whole time, you haven't been watching from launch until now, it was like double that when it launched, right? So imagine paying like $5,000 for a card you then had to unload for $2,500. That's rough. That's pretty rough. So here, the Amaveo Bitstream, I'm going to jump out of the way here. This is by Dead Miraz, the Amaveo Bitstream. This will, it's optimized for both BCU 1525. Now, here, there are a lot of distinctions between the different bitstreams that you find on FPGA Guide or any of the bitstream developers. And they'll typically call anything that's similar to BCU 1525 a VU9P FPGA board, but then it's funny that he says CVP13. We're going to talk about some of those differences, guys, in just a minute here. I've got a tab open to kind of show you some of the fundamental differences between these different boards. If you're not familiar, or maybe you think you're familiar, but you haven't looked at some of the specs, right? I've got the spec sheet open on another tab, so I really want to show that to you. So we kind of get a sense for what the possibilities are down the line, not based on any kind of like future-looking, hey, the network difficulty is going to be this, and I know for sure that only 100 people are going to try to mine this coin. Nobody can know that, right? Nobody can ever know that. So forward-looking statements, I'm going to try to really temper anybody's expectations if they're just watching this after the fact or tuning in and saying, all right, let's see what kind of BS Seth spouts here. No BS. Not interested in that. So, VU9P pretty much just refers to the Xilinx chipset that's used by the BCU 1525. If you're not familiar, that's all it means. And there are so many variants of it. There's one by Tool. There's one by Osprey Mining. It's actually a different board. These are actually different, totally different PCBs and slightly different layouts there. So, got a comment saying hello in the comment section there. Hey, Mohammed, thank you so much for saying hello. But yeah, so guys, we'll take a look at some of those different boards and offerings and the specs in just a minute here. But the Amaveo Bitstream is available in two flavors, right? So one for BCU 1525 or variants of it. They say like they're BTU 9P and then ECU 200. Like these are just the names of the development boards of the products that are totally respun PCBs and totally respun products by other manufacturers. Gosh, I don't know how they're managing to do limited runs like this. I think, what was it? It was Huawei. Was it Huawei? Pretty sure it was Huawei that had their own development board as well that was based on VU9P. Who would have thunk, right? But Huawei has this development board that's kind of like general purpose, and you could totally buy it for a while. But I think it predated the BCU 1525 even. So, kind of crazy. So I've got questions coming in that I'm not quite prepared to answer just yet, but Hero Y, I appreciate that question there. So, guys, the relative hash rate between BCU 1525 and CVP13, it's a significant difference, right? So let me jump out of the way here. You've got 25 gigahash on BCU 1525 nominal hash rate, and you've got 38 gigahash per second on CVP13. So, yeah, I mean, you've got at the same power consumption, I should mention. That's kind of the important thing there, is at the exact same power consumption, you're getting a significant hash rate boost on CVP13. And we'll talk about why that is in just a minute. But Coin Paprika is where we can... it's funny, that's what's listed here as being one of the places we can check up on Amaveo. So let's take a look at it over there. Right now, the price is trending up for Amaveo, but it's over $70 a coin, which is pretty cool. The issue is, and somebody asked me in the comment section, Seth, what's the exchange you like to use? Great question. Let's take a closer look at what's available here. So, yeah, so scrolling down, the price chart, like it definitely popped here, right at the end of 2018, and it's sort of been on the same roller coaster that every other coin has been since then. But as far as exchanges, there are precious few. I'm going to just I'm going to go over to CoinGecko and pop open the Amaveo sheet on CoinGecko. I really like, if you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, I really prefer CoinGecko. in part because they offer a much more generous number of API calls per day. So if you want to create your own custom spreadsheets, you want to create your own custom calculators, CoinGecko is pretty awesome that way. So I'm going to open up CoinGecko here in the background, jump out of the way, and hopefully this will pop up. There we go, Amaveo on CoinGecko. So we've got, there you go, we got all the price action going on in the background. Whoa, what the crap? Pompy top. That's pretty crazy. But paired to the volume of only $500 a day, dang. I mean, really? That means somebody bought or sold 5 to themselves or something, right? That looks like obvious manipulation to me when it's a 25% swing. Pretty crazy. But then here, back to volume of over $3,000. I don't know what was going on there, and pardon my ignorance, but I haven't been tracking the project really closely. Probably should. I don't know. You tell me. Should I interview the founders of Amaveo? Haven't done it yet, but clearly it is a profitable coin on FPGA. So Jed Thorne's asking what's the market cap on it right here. Oh, it looks like it's unknown by CoinGecko. There's a bummer. Yeah, that's really pretty bad. Not really sure why that is, but I think probably what's most important for right now, for as long as we can dump it. Here's the bottom line, guys. I just don't know if Amaveo has the kind of strength as a project, and pardon my ignorance here, I don't know if it has the kind of strength as a project for it to be a really good long-term hold without being a serious risk to anybody who's hanging on to that coin. And that's true for a lot of the coins that you would mine with an FPGA. But we do have exchanges that are listed on CoinGecko where we didn't on Coin Paprika. So here, I mean, eToro and Crypto.com are just sponsored listings. They're always going to show up at the very top, even when the coin isn't listed. CoinGecko, maybe reconsider that if you're watching. But, oh, dang. We already got people trying to sell their BCUs in the comment section. Water cooled, no less. But down here, it looks like QTrade, the VO-BTC pair is, or VO-BTC pair is the highest, or the one that's most actively listed. And the majority of the volume is there on QTrade. Womp womp. Uh-oh, trust score. Trust score is fair. And then the trust score on GraviX is low. Wow. Tell us how you really feel about GraviX. But beyond that, you got HitBTC. Some people are fans of HitBTC, others are not. Oh, hey, there you go. And that's totally fair. We got people in the comment section say, hey, they're just ready to get out of the game. I can't say I blame you guys. Here's the thing. Mining is... it's risky business. We know it's risky business. And I want to talk to you about that towards the end of the video. For anybody who's just tuning in, thinking like, hey, should I get into FPGA mining? Is this a good bet for me right now, the at-home miner? Now, you guys may hear over there, I'd love to move this webcam, but I'm worried I won't be able to get it set up correctly again. You guys have seen recent live streams where I've installed a growing tent. It's doing quite well. It's relatively cool in the rest of the basement. I feel good. But as a result, I've got quite a bit of sound noise over there, right? So you'll notice I've got 35 plus decibel rated ear pro on. This is the same ear protection that you saw in my gun video, and then I've just got a pair of like cheap earbuds that does the job. I tried using those. Gosh, where are they? They're the ones that I did that review of. I tried using these guys, right? The little Elgin triple flange earbuds, and they worked okay, but they only did about a 25 decibel cut. And I'm sorry, if you got to sit next to mining gear all day, next to Delta fans, multiple Delta fans, and I've got like almost a dozen Delta fans in there, right? So no, it's too much noise at just the wrong pitch, right? Just the wrong frequency. All right, so yeah, all right. So Derek is saying he's not getting out of mining. He's got several hundred ASICs in the farm, and he said he's very disappointed in how the BCU is turning out for him. Somebody else in the comments saying, wish they knew bitstream development. Oh, hey, so... oh my gosh, all right, so Mohammed is asking, why is mining risky? That's a brilliant question. Let's talk about that let's start at the bird's eye view, right? So is mining risky? Yes, but it's all relative, right? So if you're in a market where your prospects have been limited by maybe government sanctions, if you're in a market where your prospects have been limited because of some sort of inflationary action or some sort of like hyperinflation of your native currency, then no, maybe mining isn't so risky, right? Like, it's all relative. So I don't mean to say that as a blanket statement for every market around the world. Just to say that in most Western countries, especially in North America, in the United States, Canada, and then in Great Britain, in a lot of English-speaking territories, and then most of Western Europe, mining is going to feel risky compared to some of the other ways you could spend your time or your investment dollar, right? So just want to throw out that caveat. But hey, if you're living in Venezuela and you know you can get away with mining without having too much, we'll say, national government interest, right, in your activities, I mean, you'd be crazy not to focus on a little bit of cryptocurrency as a side hustle, right, in mining. So ZXSXPX is saying small scale mining at home seems less and less profitable. That's where I agree. Small scale mining, the micro scale mining, the person that has thanks again. That's third time's the charm. I guess I just have to, maybe my mustache does look good. Guys, good job. I'm blushing now. All right, so as far as small scale mining, I have to agree. The person that has 8 GPUs, but again, it's all relative. 5 years ago, 8 GPUs was like a business plan. Nowadays, that's a starter pack, right? I mean, that is the Ethereum miner's starter pack. If you're not using at least 8 GPUs at a reasonable hash rate to get you over the 200 mega hash mark, then you're not really in the game. You're not even, like, you're barely doing even the tiniest bit a day. And we'll go over the daily mining picks just based on whattomine.com. We'll throw in some custom numbers and we'll get some optimizations, real time, interactive from the comments here, so we can make sure that we're not wasting anybody's time by talking hypothetically about numbers that just don't match reality, right? So Mahmoud is asking a follow-up question. You have to worry about electricity bills. Yes, that's true. So you have to worry about electricity. As part of a business plan, when you get into the mid-scale, you have to worry about maintenance and upkeep. The moment you have more than one rig, you now have multiple rigs to admin. So are you going to use TeamViewer? Are you going to use Putty to shell in? Are you going to use some kind of a unified dashboard like Simple Mining or EthOS or MMPOS or, my preferred HiveOS? What are you going to use to admin multiple rigs? Because even just 2 means that you have to double the amount of time that you log in to each system to make changes. And if you're having to invoke a miner from, say, like the start menu, or even if you have like some pre-configured start.bat files from the desktop or shortcuts from the desktop of that Windows machine, you're actually gonna waste a bit of time for every new machine that you have to log into a TeamViewer, wait for whatever that lag is, and then get things set up, right? So just throwing that out there. It goes beyond the electricity. If you get into actually get into the game, and you have multiple rigs, and you have dozens of cards, or you have dozens of machines, we'll just say, maybe you're more into ASIC mining. I don't want to leave anybody out there. I'm not a huge fan of ASIC mining, but it's a reality, right? And it is profitable. You can be profitable depending on which purchases you make there. But you have more than one of those to do, and you're not going to want to log into the individual dashboard of every machine. So yes, electricity cost is one thing, but then the amount of time that you spend doing admin for that system, right? For that little network of machines. It's pretty painful there. Crypto Dave talking about how it gets hot AF. Oh, but are you still hungry AF? Can you handle the heat? Because if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. All right. Messing with you. But yeah, you have multiple rigs, and it's like, I wish I had a unified dashboard to deal with instead of having to do this one at a time. Log into the admin panel. So hey, BTBD is saying HiveOS has cut his admin time down to under a quarter of what it was with Windows. I'm not shocked. I mean, system updates, and guys, I'd love to talk to you more about that on a different video, but I don't want to get too sidetracked here. Just to say that to answer that question of what are some of the issues, it goes way beyond the cost of electricity. Right here, for example, building out a little bit of infrastructure to be able to manage heat correctly. Crypto Dave talked about how it's kind of a problem there. It's kind of a problem when you get into the mid-scale. Like again, we'll characterize that as actually getting into the game, right? So you're beyond the starter pack of one rig with like 6 or 8 cards. You're really in the game now. You have to start playing the game the way the big guys play it, right? But at a smaller scale. You really think backwards. Look at what everybody does at scale, and then just bring that back down to what you need, minimum viable product, but do it the way they do it. That's why I created a cold aisle, right? And that's why instead of getting a bunch of inline fans for ducting, because it just doesn't scale, guys. That doesn't scale. I got larger fans that move a higher volume of air to just pull everything through the basement. And what you can't see on camera right now is that to this side of me, I've got cold air coming in, or I've got fresh air coming in. And then to this side of me, I've got the grow tent with all of the rigs in it, and I've got those two really high CFM fans pulling everything out, right? So Derek is talking about Vosterman 60-inch fans doing the trick. Hey, I totally believe that. I just can't retrofit 60-inch fans into a house, into a home right now. Rather, I've got the one that's upstairs in the attic space, right? The whole house fan, but it's not configured to pull heat properly from the basement. I would actually make the upstairs more hot by using that to cool down the basement instead of evacuating some of the immediate rig heat through the basement, if that makes sense. All right, so a bit of a detour there, guys, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps the new guys watching, right? Or somebody who may be lurking, may have been lurking for a while and thinking like, well, you know, I still have questions. Sometimes we're a little bit overconfident, right? I apologize if I come off as overconfident or even cocky about stuff. I don't mean to be. Guys, you know that I started this channel and started talking about this stuff in particular because I wanted to be the mentor that I wish I had. And that's something that I really would hope the community kind of gets into, right? We tend to be very standoffish, and I get it. It's a self-defense mechanism, but at the small scale, we're not. We just admitted, right? Like, we're not slitting anyone's throat by helping the next at-home miner start with their first 8-card rig, right? So no harm in helping somebody else out. All right. But guys, back behind me, I'm noticing that Qtrade is where the highest amount of volume is happening with Amaveo. So realistically, that's what you can do. If you got 24-hour volume of over $3,000 there, that's where you can move your mining profits of $1.27 per day. That's where you can move it, is where there's an exchange that has over $3,000, right, of daily volume. That said, you know, I don't mean to make fun of anybody who owns a CVP13 or make fun of anybody that is interested in starting with FPGA mining. We're going to talk about that in a minute, guys. This is why I wanted to have this live stream, because there is profit today, and then there's profit from 2 months ago, and then there's profit 2 months from now. And we know it's a different game. If you don't prepare yourself to kind of like, you know, juke and move, like really pivot, then you're going to miss out when it's not $1.27 a day. Make sense? Just because it looks silly today doesn't mean that it is going to be silly 2 months from now. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But Amaveo, probably your best bet is Qtrade. Here's the Amaveo website. It's just amaveo.io. Amaveo.io gives you plenty of information about the product or project. It's enough about it that you can make a determination for yourself about... Oh, man. Yeah, so we've got questions in the comments about what happened with the OGOT Accelerator card. So that's a great question. I can't comment on it too much, but what I can say is that the SQRL Acorn, because SQRL actually did the development work on the hardware, all of it, and the packaging, all of it, and the testing environment, all of it. They laid out all the cash to fund development, all of it. And when they went through pre-sales, realistically, what you were supposed to have been delivered was an SQRL product. So I'm loath to call it an OGOT company or a minority product, because it's not. Plain and simple. That's all I'm going to say about that. The rest is up to SQRL to handle with their paid customer support. If you have questions about it, reach out to them. All right. I mean, that's all the patience I have for it, guys. And here's the thing. David Stanfield, if you're watching this, you know I love your guts. I like David. He and I chat every now and then. He's a good guy, an upstanding guy. But dealing with customer service for Acorn is his business and his problem, right? I'm going to let his company handle that. They're doing just fine so far, and their support team is pretty cool, right? They've played it really cool, so we'll let them handle that and field any more questions about that. And Of course, you can always go to the FPGA Discord, and they're very active there to answer questions about it. But let's talk about Amoveo really fast, guys. Right here, Amoveo, you've got the white paper. It tells you plenty about the project. But again, do I think it's a really good long-term hold? No, I don't think it is, because profit is so slim right now. I think you're really risking a lot by holding a lot of it. Put it that way. Maybe you want to hold a little bit. I mean, you do what you think is right. Maybe you hang on to 10%, 20% of whatever it is that you mine, and you only liquidate when you need to pay some bills, and then you split the difference, or to some extent, to figure out what makes sense for you to cash out, or for you to start trading with, right? You can use it as trading collateral for something else, perhaps. That's up to you and your organization. But what I will say is that with profit margins this slim, relatively speaking, for us, the at-home miner, with profit margin this slim, I'm not really sure if the at-home miner is the right customer persona, right, or the customer profile for this product. We'll talk about that in a minute also, guys. And I know this is a lot of exposition, but we are going to come around to some definitive conclusions here at the end of the video. Promise. But we have to frame this correctly so that when I give you my take on all this, it all makes sense. Make sense? Okay. Let's talk about the future. Okay, it's been long rumored that there are already ASICs for Ravencoin X16R. And as we know, there are already ASICs for Walton Chain. But there are also alleged bit streams for Walton Chain, which is a variant of X11, right? It's like X11R, we'll say. And yet, X11R on ASICs was proven to be less power efficient, a less effective mining solution or appliance than some of the other ways that you can mine Walton Chain. Now, regardless of your opinion on Walton Chain itself, as far as it being something that people could mine, or that organizations could mine, or investor groups could mine and turn a profit on, I think what that means is that just because an FPGA bitstream or an ASIC is being developed for a coin, that doesn't mean all is lost. Look at Ethereum, for example, and the Ethereum ASICs. They haven't put GPUs out of business. Here we are, and some of the top stuff is Ethereum. And we'll go over the numbers on what to mine in just a minute here. But one prospect for the near future, there have been a lot of rumors about it, and Whitefire has not been secretive about his interest in developing a bitstream for X16R. And in fact, Whitefire has spoken very openly about having talked to the developer team over at Ravencoin. Some of the developer team that have their own pet projects that are forked from Ravencoin, such as RitoCoin. Tracy is one, as well as several others, right? Blonde Frogs over at Ravencoin. There's this really great group of developers, including Tron Black, who focus on Ravencoin, and they've been consulted along the way by Whitefire, the main bitstream developer. But let me say this for the record, guys. I've got to say, if the FPGA community was coming to give me a pitch about their involvement in FPGA mining, like if you were an investor group coming to give me a pitch about FPGA mining, and you were like, yeah, so we're going to do this FPGA mining thing. It's so great, and all we need is $10 million of money. Like, again, disclaimer, I'm not asking for qualified investment. This is not legal, financial, or business advice, okay? So this is a hypothetical. But if a group were coming to me and saying, Seth, we want you to come pitch for us, and you're going to ask for $10 million, it's like, great. So what's the justification? What are we doing here? What are we gonna tell them the plan is? And then you tell me, yes, there's this one guy who's a bitstream developer, and he pretty much makes all the public bitstreams, and we're gonna wait until he makes a bitstream for something that's profitable. What do you think? It's a hard sell, right? It's actually a pretty tricky thing to sell an investor group on, in my opinion. So when people are concerned about FPGAs taking over, no, there are a lot of, I can tell you from experience, guys. Again, I can't give you specifics, but I can tell you from experience that there are people who are interested in investing in mining who are very cautious when it comes to FPGAs. You would normally think that, like, oh yeah, the big guys that have $15 million to spend on their mining upgrades, for sure, they have all of the FPGAs, don't they? Like my C3PO there. But it's a hard sell because we're waiting in some cases for public bitstreams to be developed, and it takes time, right? as a business plan, waiting for Whitefire to make a bitstream for your FPGA doesn't pass the bus test. That is to say, heaven forbid, if Whitefire got hit by a bus, we'd all be screwed. Wouldn't we? So, yeah, so Uncivil is saying the anti-FPGA movement is real. Lest I come across as anti, that's not what I'm getting at. I want to have a very real talk with the community, guys. I just want you to know there's balance, right? Where some people think, oh no, FPGAs are going to take over. All I'm saying is, to some investor groups, they're approaching it with the same caution they would approach other investments. And to some mid-scale mining groups, they're similarly approaching it with some caution. And to groups that already have warehouses full of GPUs, guess what? They're back in the money. So do they have to double down? Like, do they have to go and speculate on FPGAs at scale? No, actually, they're doing quite well for now with their GPUs. So I'm just saying there's some balance there. For mid-scale miners that are really deep into ASICs, for example, also, they're kind of back in the money as well. So there's room for a little bit of everything, right? Is there a bitstream for everything? No, there's not a bitstream for every coin. Is there a bitstream for RandomX? No. And if there were, it wouldn't be very effective, right? So the next iteration of proof of work algo that Monero uses. So there's a bit of balance is what I'm saying. Do I think that an FPGA is right for everyone? Let's talk about that. So right here, without making any forward-looking statements, I will say that Whitefire hasn't made it a secret that he's interested in doing development of an X16R bitstream that would, drum roll, allow for Ravencoin mining. You see it right there. Ravencoin is still kind of the top of the list when it comes to X16R profits. And then variants of Ravencoin, like X16, or the Ravencoin proof of work algo, like X16RT, would be what you'd have to use to mine other coins like Gincoin. Very interesting coin. Really is. X16S is not as commonly used. I thought it was really cool. When I interviewed Luke Pighetti over at the Pigeon Coin project, thought it was a cool idea. Thought it was a really cool idea. And I think that the proof of work algo there, moving from the randomization method that Ravencoin used, X16R, over to X16S, and smoothing out the hash rate and the power consumption curves, I thought that had a lot of merit. And I think that's made its way back into the mining scene, as you can see with Rito Coin using X21S. So, a lot of innovations from a lot of different contributors on a lot of different sides of the industry. So we're still in that weird space, guys, right? It's crazy. 10 years into the mainstream cryptocurrency thing, experiment, right, of Bitcoin and every other fork, and we're still like totally in the Wild West. It's nuts. But there's opportunity for a lot of people to step up and kind of shine, right, with their unique abilities and talents. So again, shout out to Luke Pighetti. Thanks for bringing something that was of value. Clearly, the Ravencoin team saw it. They didn't roll it back into Ravencoin, but they did fork it over into Rito Coin. Those members of the team that did that. So, all right. So, thank you, Faded. I think I did a filibuster. Was that a filibuster, guys? That I just maybe I didn't even breathe. Woo. Yeah. There we go. A little breath of fresh air. So, Ravencoin, is there a bitstream being developed for it? Yeah. It's no secret. Whitefire's been talking about it. He's been talking about making something that's going to be able to mine Ravencoin on X16R. I think we need to look at some of the possibilities. Of all the different FPGAs that are out there. So let's just take, for example, that baseline power consumption of 350 watts, which, as we know, looking at some of the power consumption profiles of BCU and CVP13 is realistic. And then let's put in some spitball numbers, right? We're totally just making stuff up, pulling numbers out of thin air for hash rate, because we don't know. We just don't know. So, yeah. Oh, so hey, Porterhouse brings up a really good point. It's public knowledge. Everybody already knows who's into the hosted FPGA scene has already invested in that there is a private X16R bitstream for BCU 1525, but those numbers are private. Ergo, I will not be talking about them. So, when Whitefire releases his public bitstream, for X16R, we do not know what the number is going to be. And yeah, so we're going to spitball here, and I'm going to say that on the low end, maybe we can see numbers of about 100 mega hashes per second coming out of one card at a power consumption of 350 watts. By anyone's measure, that's really not bad, right? I mean, compare that to current options on, say, the GTX 1080 Ti or like an RTX model card. We definitely have some other options on the market with GPUs that can mine X16R fairly efficiently, right? But not as efficient as I think what we're seeing here. Not quite as efficient as what we're seeing here. We'll start the numbers at about 100 mega hashes per second, though, which, again, probably a bit conservative. I'd rather err on the side of caution. But let's just say that's the case right there. And let's just say that our average used hardware cost there is based on the numbers that we got from the comment section. Thank you guys. From comment section, let's just say our average cost for hardware there is about $3,000. So, all right. Hey, Jed Thorne just jumped back in, letting us know what the market cap is of Amaveo, and it is 66,000 coins, give or take, and the market cap of about 4.3 million US dollars, which is cool. But again, I'm most interested to see what the on-exchange daily volume is of a coin. Because if the market cap is even $100,000, but for whatever reason, it's really moving, it's got really good velocity in terms of just daily volume, and it bears out with the volume on exchange, then I think we're probably in a good place, even if the total market cap is low. In fact, we might even be in a better position if the market cap is low, it's young, and it's promising. You figure out what the best strategy is for you, but that might even be a good indicator that it's a decent hold for a portion of the daily profits. Throwing that out there. All right. Aha. Okay, so Roderick. Hey, good to see you, brother. Long time no chat. Roderick's got a great question in the comments there. We'll come back to that in just a minute here. But let's say that hash rate on Ravencoin is 100 mega hashes, power consumption 350 watts, hardware cost $3K. Remember, if you're in the FPGA club, it means you've shelled out. We know this. Compared to the person who's got like a full 8-card rig at that same cost. Or maybe 2. Right? Maybe they were really smart about when they bought their GPU rigs. They've got a couple of GPU rigs at that same price. So, right there, let's calculate there. And break even, just under 1,000 days. But the daily profit is $3. It's pi. Oh my gosh, we've pi in daily profits at 10 cents per power. Pi profits. I've got to get a new playlist. In fact, I'm just going to skip this one. That's like way too jungle for me. It's like more drum. Okay. Jungle the drum step. Is that really better? Okay. What the heck is this playlist? Oh my gosh. I am about to give up. Whatever. The music's going to play in the background. So we've got pi profits daily in dollars and cents, that is, with those characteristics. Let's change it up just a little bit, okay? Because these are hypothetical numbers. Let's pretend like the daily, like that the hash rate is double that at the same power consumption, because we know that's the power consumption profile is a known quantity. So we'll leave power consumption at 350, and we'll bring hash rate up to 200 mega hashes per second. And here's the thing, right? We know profits aren't necessarily going to double exactly, right? It's going to be a little bit different. But there we're at $7.18 a day, and if it holds, if profits hold, then we're to break even of just over a year, right? Over 400 days. So that starts to look a little bit better, right? And I think based on some of the conversations that are being had publicly in the FPGA Discord and the other forums, some of the things that Whitefire has said on the record, I think that this is not an unrealistic expectation for some of the FPGAs on the market. I think that CVP is one of them. I think that it's going to have at least this hash rate and possibly higher. Again, guys, ongoing disclaimer. We just can't know until this stuff ships. Right? Hey, Alan, thanks so much for the vote of confidence in the comment section. Guys, let me just be clear. The reason I'm doing this video is because I'm still bullish on mining. Let me be super, super clear about that. There are plenty of people who just gave up. Profits were low. Guess what those of us who are serious about mining did? We bought miners who capitulated. We bought out their gear. So thank you for the cheap gear. We're back in the money now, thanks to you guys. All right, so hash rate. Let's just say that, for example, instead of it being at about 200 mega hashes per second, that we yep, plenty of people suck it out, and you know what? We're reaping the rewards. Takes some patience. And let's say that instead of 200 mega hashes, we are at 300 mega hashes, which is entirely possible. Based on some of the public statements by Whitefire, entirely possible that this could be the case. Okay, that puts us at under a year and daily profits of over $10 per day per card. This is starting to make the case for some of these FPGAs a little more. That said, we put the average price for a BCU in place there. I think what we need to do is, at this point, we need to switch things up, and based on what I'm told, for beefier cards like CVP13, then it's possible that we'll see even higher hash rates. But before I do that, let's jump into the why. This is from Xilinx's website, and I've got these products selected right here. I've already got this thing. I cached this and downloaded a copy of it because I found it so interesting here. I'm not super into FPGA development. It's crazy. I had a roommate who was an electrical engineer in college. He's gone on to become a DSP professional, and we chat. And he's like, "Oh, crypto, huh? That's quaint. That's interesting." That's what people who are not Whitefire say about cryptocurrency mining. And I think that Whitefire has a similar job, right? He does DSP, or he works with FPGAs on a regular basis, right? He's got that really deep skill set. So it's just funny. And my friend was like, how droll. The poors are mining on FPGAs. It's all relative. So, yeah. So these are the main chipsets that are being talked about in current products. Now, pardon my ignorance, pardon my omission here. I'm not including the chipsets that are used on the BlackMiner F1. And in part, that is because I like talking about components that can be scaled into larger systems, right? You can take some of these cards, some of these parts like BCU 1525 or CVP or the upcoming FK33. You can put these into multi-card rigs. You can put them into much larger arrays with 4 or 6 or maybe 8. Maybe we'll see even much larger configurations. KJS with the black box, I think, still has his black box design that will accommodate 16 cards, right? GPUs. But I think he also guarantees that it should be compatible with some FPGAs. So imagine putting 16 into a single box. That's where having components versus having appliances it just changes the proposition, right? And then having the correct interconnect, the high-speed interconnect on each board allows you, or bitstream developers like Whitefire, over time to make more challenging bitstreams that span across multiple cards. That's why I've been so interested in that proposition, because it scales well. And so for the mid-scale miner, for the large-scale miner, for the investor groups who are saying, hey, Seth, we want a solution that will help us future-proof a little bit, I think there's an interesting value there. Very interesting, in my mind. So, So right here, guys, on the product listing here, what you're going to see by way of memory and what you're going to see by way of DSP slices and system logic cells, that K number is pretty important. So I'm going to focus on that for right now, and then DSP slices as well, but then also the memory. This is just onboard memory, just to be very, very clear. And this is onboard memory as it can be configured by whoever the last mile OEM is in making the product. Again, do I do this for a living? No, but this is just what I picked up by reading in some of the forums and by then looking at the Xilinx product chart here. So this is the bare bones comparison between the chipset that is used by BCU 1525 And BCU 1525 is on the far left. BCU 1525 uses the VU9P chipset. And then CVP13 uses the VU13P chipset. And then FK33, also codenamed Forest Kitten, will use, for future-looking statement, the VU33P. They're all from the Vertex UltraScale Plus product lineup. So, to be clear, they all come from the same generation of silicon, but they have some different features. And we'll talk about that a little more, too. VU9P has over 2,500 logic cells, with over 6,800 DSP slices. 13P on the CVP13 has more system logic cells, but realistically even more, like proportionately even more DSP slices, with support for more onboard memory. And then, what is it there? More transceivers here as well, more transceiver bandwidth. And then 33P has fewer logic cells and fewer DSP slices, but higher memory throughput, or higher potential memory on board, and it uses HBM. So both higher memory bandwidth, and then, of course, higher on-board memory, because you have to have the memory apparently on chip with HBM. So you've got unique qualities to each one of these FPGAs. So want to throw that out there, that last mile of implementation is totally going to be up to the OEMs, or to all these new entrants that are creating new products for mining. It's going to be totally up to them how they implement them. And then, of course, there are going to be several companies that already have developer-style boards that leverage these chipsets. And Xilinx is one of them, right? They have developer boards that you can just buy direct from Xilinx that already feature these chipsets. So there's a bit of an issue there. Again, all right, so with that in mind, knowing that Whitefire has gone on record saying that there will be an X16... Oh, yeah, you know what? Someone's asking about volume on music. That should be a little better, right? Okay, thank you for speaking up about that. I apologize. I wasn't quite sure if it was the right volume, so thank you for saying something. But guys, we've got these different characteristics on each one of these developer boards, and this is just the developer specs right here from Xilinx. So translating that into real-world performance, hey, I don't have that skill set. I'm not going to pretend to. And but what I will say is that I don't think that you should just take at face value what anybody says right up front, especially people who don't work in the field. Don't take anyone's just off-the-cuff, armchair quarterback opinion about this, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to read up on things that Whitefire has publicly said and trying to contact some of the hardware developers and just asking them straight up, what do you think some of the performance will be here? And the answer I'm getting back is, well, look at some of the characteristics. You're going to have a little bit better, just a little bit better performance on certain bit streams and certain algos because of the memory, right? So on FK33, word on the street is that it should be able to mine some Ethereum because it's using HBM2. You've got BCU 1525 and you've got CVP13, where that doesn't appear to be on the roadmap, and nobody's really talking about ever mining Ethereum on those. I'm sorry, some people did, but I think they were misinformed, and we've seen that no bitstream has been forthcoming, right? Nothing has shown up to help anybody mine Ethereum on those cards yet. Again, huge caveat. It could be that there's some exploit, there's some way, or there's a proof of work algorithm change on the part of the Ethereum Foundation that all of a sudden renders everything I just said obsolete. I don't think it will, but there's always that possibility, right? So let's jump back into some of the numbers here. What I'm interested in taking a look at is here between VU9P and then VU13P. These are the chipsets that are most commonly used right now between all of the variations, all the different variants and versions of BCU 1525, right, the toll version as well, and then CVP13, which is the only one that uses the VU13P chipset. But those DSP slices, it's like nearly double, and being able to fit a larger bit stream onto that card and work with a more difficult bit stream, right, a more compute intensive bit stream, possibly with at higher rates is a pretty big deal. And we see that with M-Aveo, right? Jumping back. We see that there's a pretty proportional jump in performance, right? So let's just take this at face value. 25 gigahash versus 38. Where does that look familiar? Oh. 2,500 system logic cells versus almost 3,800 system logic cells. So I think that we're seeing a bit of linear performance increase there. Is it possible that the M-Aveo bitstream has totally maxed out? Is it possible there will never be any more kind of performance optimization with that bitstream? Again, I don't know. This is not what I do, right? I'm just looking at some of these little breadcrumbs and thinking out loud, like, well, my little monkey brain is looking at some of these other numbers and thinking there's a correlation, right? So if that's as optimized as it's going to get, then maybe at peak optimization, we're going to see a bitstream down the line for X16R that is equally more performant on CVP13. Maybe that justifies the price for you. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to make any recommendations here for any kind of hardware purchase at all. Totally up to you to decide on FPGA. But I'm looking at some of this stuff and just thinking like, I think I see a pattern. I think I do. You tell me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Is there not a pattern here, or am I missing something? Is there something more to consider as far as these projects go, or these products go? Because VU9P and VU13P both allow for the addition of DDR4 memory directly onto the PCB. They're going to be locked down at the bandwidth and the speed of current DDR4 options, right? We're not going to get HBM with those chipsets, ever. There's never going to be any kind of an HBM upgrade for those chipsets, ever. It's just not possible, right? So you get what you get. Like, it's like the difference between a straight 5 and a V6, or a flat 6, right? Or any of those configurations with a Hemi, right? Like a Hemi design. You're just going to get different characteristics, and some of that stuff is just immutable. It just won't change. Or won't be optimized past a certain point, even with porting and polishing, right? To use a car analogy there. You're just going to have a max ceiling of performance. So, all right. So that's what I've been looking at. But looking at VU33P, man, those system logic cells, way lower. And the DSP slices, lower still, less than half of what VU9P has. But some of the projected numbers they're pretty promising because of the memory bandwidth. It's crazy what really fast memory can do. That said, future-looking statements, guys, right? None of this stuff is shipping yet, so please don't take that. Just take this at face value. This is what I'm hearing on the street, right? And in the FPGA community. So, jumping back to Ravencoin. If we can say that, or guess, right, that some of the Ravencoin performance may be somewhere in the 200 megahash, maybe 200 to 300 megahash per second range on BCU. What if CVP13 was also proportionately higher? What if because of the DSP slices, it could get more than twice as much performance? What if it could get almost 3 times the performance? Something to consider, all right? And disclaimer, yeah, I've spoken to some of the team at Bitware, and I've gotten some feedback from them about this. I'm not going to name names, can't mention specifics, but I'm just going to say in general terms here, what I'm hearing from them is there should be a bit more performance when the X16R bitstream ships for CVP13. So here's where I'm going to spitball here and just start throwing out some numbers on the what to mine calculator, okay? Let's say it's double. First off, let's put the hardware cost in at $6,000. So we're double the average cost for a used BCU 1525, right? That's a safe assumption there. And then hash rate, let's just say that we can get double, maybe, right? Huge maybe. But 600 mega hashes per second. I haven't put in pool fees, but we're just going to scrub that. Fine. We're going to calculate. Hey, look at that. Even at double the cost, let's see, our break even is still under 300 days. In fact, it's a tiny bit lower. Let me just double check here to make sure that I didn't screw anything up. But 3,000, 300. Keep your eyes on the figure right there. 263 days. 271 days. If the performance is double on CVP 13. If. It's a future-looking statement, guys. I just don't know. I don't know how many times I can make that kind of a disclaimer. But if the performance is double, we're looking at a lower time to break even on the CVP 13, even though the initial hardware cost is higher. So 6K, 600 mega hashes per second, 261 days. 262 days. What is 0.95 days? I don't know. But 262 days. Still lower than what it would be on a BSU 1525 if you buy it used at the average price of $3,000, because we've already seen in the comment section, some people are seeing them go for $3,500, some are seeing them go for $2,500. I think it's safe to presume that, like most things, the truth is somewhere in between, right? So now let's take a look and just take for granted that maybe, just possibly, we can go a little bit higher than double. And to keep things conservative, let's go to 700 mega hashes per second. So we're not doing a perfect multiple of like 3 times as much. So it's like whatever, 900 mega hashes per second or a gigahash on one card. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. I don't know. But we're not gonna go to ludicrous speed just yet. So 700 mega hashes per second. We're looking at a daily profit of over $25 and break even at just over 220 days. But it's not super killer just yet. But we're well under a year, right? If that's the case, and if profits hold for that long. That said, the net hash increase on X16R variants and any coins that use it, we're going to see a big change there. I was realizing my whiteboard's in this shot. Want to make sure I'm not like whatever giving away all the world's secrets that I've been entrusted with. I have no secrets. You know this already. Mostly. So, if that's the case, guys, if there's profit to about that level, if that's possible when the X16R bitstream hits, then with the relatively few number of FPGA holders that are out there that are going to then use this bitstream, choose to use this bitstream, I wonder realistically how much that's going to alter the net hash. Right here, for X16R, it looks like on What to Mine, it says that the net hash is 9.5 terahash. Let's do some math. I'm going to pop open a calculator now. Ooh, okay, got a calculator open. Let's just pretend like let's go worst case scenario. In fact, I'm gonna pop things way up. Let's go ahead and let's bring things all the way up to ludicrous speed, and let's pretend like we can get a gigahash out of a single FPGA. I think that's unrealistic, personally, to see a gigahash out of a single FPGA, but let's go worst case scenario. In fact, let's go a perfect multiple of that 300 mega hashes. Let's go all the way up to 1200 mega hashes, so we're just like way out into outer space, right? We're going to land on the moon with this bitstream. With this bitstream alone. And an American flag. No, it's not a set. Shh, quiet. All right, so that would be like $50 a day, right? That's the holy grail, right? We're breaking even, and there you go, 128 days. Woo! All right. Under 5 months, so we're just kicking butt, taking names. Net hash is still 9.5 terahash, so let's just pretend like everybody here is doing, all right, 9.5, that's gigahash. That's terahash. Right? So we know that's what we're starting with. Let's pretend like right now there are about 2,500 CVP13s in the wild. I haven't checked that number. I haven't asked anybody at Bitware if that's the case. Haven't asked any of the sales team at SQRL if they're selling, or any of the retailers that or distributors that actually sell these. I haven't asked anybody how many they've actually sold, so I'm spitballing right now. Let's say there are 2,500 of these out in the space. Let's multiply that by 1.2 gigahash. Boom. So we're looking at 9 terahash total. We're looking at a net hash increase of almost 30% if that's true. And if everybody who has a CVP 13, for example, all decides at the same time, we all want to do just Ravencoin. I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know if that's going to be the thing that happens overnight. But throwing it out there. Guys, Just spitballing. All right, so I'm going to get off of the Ravencoin conversation, the topic right there. I just wanted to throw out the very real possibility of Ravencoin being something that FPGA miners are working on, right? That they're switching to in the near future. So that's possible in the near future. Looking right here, the upcoming release from SQRL on the FK33. Not sure what to make of it. Not sure what all of the possible, like what that's going to do when it hits the market, and then what it's going to do relative to its price when it hits the market. But let's take a look at whattomine.com really fast. Let's take a look at some obvious choices here. GTX 1060, if you're starting with, say, like an 8-card build, or let's go with a 10-card build right now, puts you over 200 mega hash on Ethereum. Same price for electricity. And I'm going to get rid of Binance because they're forcing us to go to Binance US. Going to get rid of... Wait, what have I done? Binance, come back. We love you. Okay. Put Binance back on there, and we'll leave everything on the board for right now. But generally speaking, I like only putting exchanges into that field that I'm actually going to use in the real world. So based on my preferences for KYC, etc. But we're going to leave that right there. Everything intact, and it looks like... What? Okay, so profitability for the last 7 days with the average difficulty for the revenue of 3 days. And top of the list is actually Swap. I've also, right here, I put a filter to make sure that there's at least volume of half a Bitcoin per day. So we know there's at least minimum $5,000 daily volume. So you can probably put some of your profits, slough off some of your profits for the day and pay some bills, or some of your revenue, pay some bills. Looks like Swap is there, though, and primarily on Trade Ogre. I like that. I like the sound of that. But then there's NiceHash with ETHash. And guys, I talked about before how if you're interested in using the new version of NiceHash, then go check out Brandon Coin. Again, shout out to Brandon Coin for being the very first to detail how to use the new platform. I think that's very important for anybody who's interested in using NiceHash. And it's here on the top of the stack, guys. You'd be foolish to ignore it. I'll put it that way. Or immediately say, like, I don't want to use it because it's NiceHash. Well, what if that makes sense for you to use it? Like right now, actually some of the top profits right here are going to be if instead of mining Swap, you give somebody else your hash rate to mine Swap or Grin. Right? So don't count it out. Eternity is high on the list as well. This is not quite sorting the way I'd hoped it would. Oh dear. Yeah, Eternity is high on the list. But let's go to current profits over the last day then. Profitability for the last 24 hours. And there you go. It's going to show us a little more of a neat ordered list. But Swap, Eternity, Grin, and then NiceHash takes the next 3 spots, right? So shout out to Brandon Coin, guys. Go check out his tutorial if you're interested in using the new NiceHash. Here's why I think you might not want to, and I think I may have mentioned this before, but 2 reasons that you might not want to deal with the new NiceHash. Again, check out his video. Be supportive. Click on everybody's links right down in the description. Guys, really, when you click like and when you subscribe, when you click on affiliate links in the description of videos, it really does help. There are a lot of mining content creators that just don't earn anything for sharing this info, and it's cool that you think they're nice guys, but realistically, if you shared that much, you would expect it's just the smallest thing in return, right? So be supportive. Check out Brandon Coin video when you have a chance. But here's 2 reasons that I think you might not want to use the new NiceHash. First off, they're not forcing you to. And your profits don't change. So if your profits don't change, that's number 1, and they're not forcing you to, then why change? It's just extra effort with nothing in exchange. And again, that point number 1, profits haven't changed because you're still mining to the same pools, roughly. And your pool might change down the line, but you're going to be paid out the same amount. And number 2, they're not going to force you to right now because NiceHash hasn't determined the drop dead date for when they're going to force everybody to use the new platform. So if you are looking at using NiceHash, don't worry about it. It's not urgent. It's just not. And they'll make the announcement when it is, and if you are actually active on their platform, you'll get an email, right? They'll tell you. They'll tell you when they're actually going to change. But they're not changing just yet. So it's really not that urgent. I would just say, move a little more slowly on that. It's not worth the effort right now. But stay informed, of course. Of course. All right, so NiceHash, it's high on the list there. Let's look over at an AMD option. We'll just say, again, spitballing, typical 8-card rig on Polaris. Now, I've adjusted some numbers here because realistically, this is a little bit closer to what people are actually getting on ETH if you're getting decent hash rates. And you can bring the power consumption down lower than that. I know I have, but I'm going to keep it conservative there. And go back to 10 cents per kilowatt hour as the average. And here, profitability 7 days. This really doesn't tell a surprising story to anybody who's paying attention, but NiceHash is totally at the top of the stack, just under $3 a day in profit at that rate. So, all right. So, oh, hey. So I see comments. There we go. So removing free transfer to Coinbase right now. I think that might be the case for the old NiceHash, and so they're going to try to corral you into the new one just as soon as they can. Sure, that makes sense. I mean, I guess they're also going to do auto exchange to ETH and then maybe Zcash, but I doubt they're going to allow you to send with a private transaction. Yeah, Porterhouse is asking me to compare new cards to an FPGA. I'm not going to do that because the FPGA numbers are not definite, and some of the Radeon 7 numbers, for example, or say like newest cards, like the 5700 or the 5700 XT, first off, they don't have driver support, so don't buy those. That'd be foolish. Wait until, or I don't know, do, and be the first one to try to figure out how to crack that nut. I don't know. It's up to you. I typically urge caution, though, right? Like, if you can wait. If you can buy used, right? If you can buy cheap, buy cheap. And generally speaking, a brand new alpha launch doesn't give you any of those benefits, right? Like, you're paying top market rate for something. Anyway, so, yeah. But, yeah, guys, I really didn't make this video to speak about NiceHash, just to say that look into it. Check out Brandon Quinn's video. Be supportive of those who contribute to the mining community and the content community when you have questions about that. So, all right. Yeah, guys, that's pretty straightforward, though. Getting cashed out in BTC, not a tough choice to make right now. But that's something you can do with the Polaris Edition cards. And I still call this sort of the base configuration for most cards because time and time again, looking at the mining profitability calculator over on mineyour.biz/blog, the GTX 1060 and the RX 580, they stand out a lot. They stand out a whole lot. Oh, pardon me. So the older cards, it's crazy, but Polaris and the older GTX 1060s, they still really provide a lot of value. Strong bang for the buck when you look at current pricing. And when you look at the pricing of newer entrants, you're not going to get quite as many cards, and you're not going to get quite as much flexibility with those cards, right? If you only have, for example, 2 cards that you're mining with, maybe you're just getting started and you're mining with 2 cards on a single rig, and you want to sell one. Well, your net hash is cut in half. If you have 8 cards in a Polaris rig and you want to sell 2, right? You're still only down by a quarter of your total card count. And your net hash is only cut by a quarter of your total net hash. And then you can still recoup some costs or liquidate some of your gear easily. I'm still kind of a big fan of that. Just throwing it out there, guys. And there are a lot of miners who capitulated, who got rid or are getting rid of those cards still. I'm just saying, like, I don't want them anymore. So, got a huge possibility there. Huge opportunity for you. Like Roderick is saying, last generation still has benefits. And I'm just going to say, like, I don't alpha buy anything. I only barely got a Ryzen CPU in my main workstation after the 2000 series came out. The refresh came out, and I was like, all right, cool. I can do this now. Makes sense. I'm not going to alpha buy. I'm not going to overpay for the performance because I was getting perfectly good performance from a 7700K which I acquired at the right price. So that's just my take on it, guys. I try to urge some caution. All right. So, yeah, guys, I mean, this is not news to you, right? Though, you know, I don't want to like have a request come in and like not handle it. So, Porterhouse, I appreciate you bringing up that we can take a look at some newer numbers here. But let's take top of the line for AMD and go with a 2-card AMD V7 or Radeon 7 build, and yeah, leave pretty much everything the same. Volume we're going to bring up to half a Bitcoin. It's for daily volume so that we don't get junk coins thrown into the mix. And there you go. All right, so we're doing a little less profit daily onto Radeon 7s than we would with 8 Polaris cards when they're properly tuned. Now, it could be that I'm not actually tuning these cards correctly for the numbers there. That puts them at about 75 mega hashes per each, which I think is probably a bit too conservative. Let's pop that up to about 180, just to bring that a little more in line with what most people can achieve on Ethereum. There you go. It's still a little tiny bit below, or it's pretty much in line with what 8 Polaris cards will do for those 2 Radeon 7s. As far as the price, I mean, let's do a really quick price check on Radeon 7 price. Do that live. I wasn't planning on this, guys, as you can tell, so this is not a rock, paper, shotgun. Sweet. Oh, it's the release. I should use Newegg instead. I don't normally like doing this live because it sucks up a little bit of time in just pulling up pages. But here we go. Radeon 7. Hey, surprise, surprise. Radeon 7 is still like almost $700. So we're looking at like 670, maybe, out of stock. Maybe you can find it used. Maybe. Very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. But I know for a fact that you can find some Polaris cards for between 150 to 180. So, if you're getting them for about 150, you're getting 4 Polaris cards for each Radeon 7. Yeah. Love it. Hey, newbie, we got newbie in the comments saying that Radeon 7 is EOL. So, hey, I'm okay with that. Cool. But I just had that call out in the comment section. Talk about Radeon 7. Thought I'd bring that up. You guys know I got largely planned. A lot of people got really upset when I just went live from the backyard and was like, hey, I'm not getting Radeon 7, and I don't think you should either. But let's talk about maybe something like 2070 Super. Let's see if 2070 Super shows up here on Newegg. 2070 Super Twin Fan, $500. Oh wow! If you want it on water, you can. They'll let you pay $600 for 2070 Super. It's very generous of them. Very generous of them. So 2070 Super, I think what we found in most of the community testing, and I think that Porterhouse Gamer was the first in our community to actually pick one up and then say, I'm going to run this through the Nice Hash auto benchmark. So there wasn't any optimization done just yet, but with the basic testing, we're looking at about 42 mega hashes per second on that part. Let's take a look over at what to mine and see maybe if we can come up with some sort of a corollary, something that's pretty close. So we'll spitball right here. We'll take out the Radeon 7 and we'll put in a 2080 instead. And that's still not quite where I think the benchmarks indicated. I think we got about a 42 mega hashes per second, but at 190 watts, that's a spicy meatball. A spicy meatball. We don't want to eat that. But we'll take a look anyway. Take a look anyway, just to see at that number first. What? Zcoin? Ooh. Fancy that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Guys, I'm an unabashed fan of Zcoin and Ruben Yap's work. I've said it a couple of times. There's a reason that I've syndicated his work onto the mineyour.biz blog, his writing onto the mineyour.biz blog. I think what he's doing with privacy right now is very valuable. And we should take a look at Sigma in another video, their privacy protocol, because it actually puts ring CTs to shame right now and is kind of the best in between from ring CTs to ZK snarks. We'll talk about it another time, but I think it's very important to privacy. So, yeah, guys, right there, if it's 42 mega hashes, well, guess what else does almost 42 mega hashes? Oh, okay, hold on a second. All right. So I'm getting some other... I apologize, because I didn't have these... I don't have instant recall of all these numbers. But, Alrighty, so it looks like, yeah, Kookaroo 29, C29 was actually a little bit lower, that's 7.3, and MTPs were about 4, actually, on the new 2070 Super. So I'm going to recalculate with that in mind, because Zcoin came up on top, and that brings the profit to over $1 per card. That's kind of compelling, but at $500, is that really compelling? $500 for $1.20 a day. Now, I've got a bit of faith in MTPs as a proof of work, and I've got a bit of faith in the Zcoin project as a good long-term project with really serious development behind it and really strong cryptography. They take their development on all sides very seriously. They change proof of work. They change difficulty. They have changed now the privacy protocol, and they're going to continue to make changes. So I've just been very, very impressed with what they're doing there. So seeing that MTPs are a high performer on 2070 Super, for me is kind of, that catches my attention. It really does. However, the question is always, how much, how fast? Can we get by at a lower cost of acquisition on a different card? So taking away the hypothetical of the 2070 Super, let's go with something like that's also an 8 gig card, like the 1070. And let's put two 1070s in the mix. Also, this is going to get us a little bit closer to like almost 4 mega hashes on MTPs. And MTPs are just going to be towards the top, but they're going to do better on apparently Beam. But two 1070s, let's see what our price is on that. GTX 1070. And I apologize because I know that one of the the GTX 2070 is going away, right? It's not the 2060. They're keeping the 2060, but the 2070 is actually going to disappear, right? In exchange, as a result. Holy crap! You can still buy a 1070 for $500 too. What the heck? They'll let you. They're so kind. They'll let you pay $500. But apparently you can get them used for significantly lower. So you can get one used for like $300. That doesn't seem quite right. I think we should go to eBay if we actually want to find something used. So let's check out eBay again live. Apologize that. So yeah, 2080 being discontinued as well. Hey, appreciate the call out there, Porterhouse. So GTX 1070 used. And this should tell us a slightly different story. There you go. We're looking at closer to $200, $240, $225 plus shipping. We're seeing that one be bid up from $150. I'm getting the sense. There you go. Buy it now at $200. Used, pre-owned, 8 gig. But with shipping, it looks like we're going to spend a little over $200. But my point is that we should get two 1070s for each one of those 2070 Supers. So again, it kind of brings me back to that point of like, if you want to liquidate your mining inventory and you've got 2 of something for every 1 of another something, that is one way to kind of sandbag, right? It's one way to kind of like prepare yourself for some kind of a need to need to sell everything, right? You don't have to sell everything if you've got things configured correctly. So let's just see right here. Oh yeah, these are definitely conservative numbers as well. And yeah, if you're using the right numbers, I didn't adjust this either. So newbie calls out that on 1070 you should be able to do closer to 35. So let's bring that up to 70 total on for the pair of them. And the same is likely true of some other numbers as well, right? So any Equihash variant like Beam and MTPs as well. But that's going to bring Ethereum into the top 10, closer to $1. But it's still not the top number, which is kind of a surprise, right? For some of the NVIDIA cards, that's the case. And I'm sure that we would also see that like Kookaroo is a little bit different as well. And then same with MTPs. We might be able to do a little better. I apologize, I was in the way there. But at 70 mega hashes, you've got in the top 10, you've got Ethereum on NiceHash at almost $1. But again, like this is, guys, you got to do what's right for you, right? I mean, it's depending on what your budget is, depending on what your goals are, depending on if you want to be able to resell certain cards while you're still mining on other cards. Maybe you want to reconfigure some of the cards that you have in your inventory for use on a desktop. Maybe you have some other legitimate business purpose that requires you to have some GPUs. For example, I went to a gaming cafe. They do tabletop like turn-based games, RPGs and stuff. But then they also do video games in this cafe. They have to have good graphics cards on the workstations, right? On the video game stations where people go and sit at this cafe. So maybe you've got a dozen or 24 stations like that are in a different like LAN cafe. So being able to upgrade in a more granular way and say like, look, we were already going to amortize this over a certain period of time anyway, so we want to get something that's going to work within my other business purpose. If you've got a couple dozen already, And we talked about that being sort of the point at which you're really playing the game in mining. I don't know. You've got to figure out what's right for your business. And then consider what the possible scientific computing or cloud computing or distributed or grid computing or fog computing, right? According to SONM, what the other possible applications are. So again, take all this with a grain of salt. But yeah, guys, 2070 Super. I'm just not super impressed. Womp womp. Call that out. All right, let's go over to the 2080 Ti. And we'll just pretend like that is what the 2080 Super is going to do. It just looks so wrong. We'll say 56 mega hash on Ethereum. And there are going to be some other numbers that I'm sure are wrong here. But we're going to adjust Ethereum because right now it's such a strong performer in the market. But no, C31, because of the memory size there, that kind of throws it off because it's got the 11 gigs of memory. And if we went back to 8 gigs on, say, like the 2080. Gosh darn it. Okay, we're going to have to actually adjust that. Wait, what? Okay, let's bring this back up over 50 mega hashes on Ethereum. And see where that puts us. It still puts NTPs at the top of the stack for the 2080 Super, air quotes. I don't have all the other numbers here. But yeah, guys, I'm not super impressed by what I'm seeing coming out of NVIDIA right now for the super cards. So 2080 Super, I'm going to throw that into Newegg. Like, coming soon. I know there's a published price point, but I'm just not impressed, guys. The hash rate for the dollar, you're just not getting the bang for the buck that you would on the last generation. And the same is true for Polaris as well, or Vega as well. Right? You can get several Vega 56s and just like smash Monero and just smash any crypto notes on Vega 56 over what you would do with Radeon 7 today. Yeah, Roderick is saying not worth it till 2020. I agree, guys. It just doesn't make sense to alpha buy unless you have a specific business purpose that you can amortize the cost of the gear for. Again, talk to whoever you talk to professionally to consult for those sorts of business decisions, but I think, like, unless you already have some other business where it makes sense for you to buy that gear and write it off somewhere else, yeah, don't get the new stuff. Doesn't make sense. But, I was saying that about some of the high-performance compute components last year with DDR3 versus DDR4. Look what the price of memory has done. It's kind of opened up some options for this year. So things could change very quickly. It could be by the time we revisit this video in a couple of weeks, that everything is totally different again. All right, so yeah, 2080 Super, 2070 Super. I can't say that I'm as excited about those, and it's crazy, but if you're looking at a mining-only purchase, I don't know. I'm looking at some of those profits, guys. Again, jumping back to the Ravencoin projections, not the gigahash, whatever. That's a joke. That can't be right. But if we are looking at something more conservative, like say 700 was the stretch goal, but 600 mega hashes, that already puts something like a CVP13 to within the sub-year break-even point range, if that's a number that's attainable on X16R, and if profits hold. Again, network difficulty is like honey badger. It does what it wants, right? And it claims whoever's life it wants to claim. So just don't even know. Porterhouse is calling out some optimizations to the driver stack for NVIDIA, which I think is great. We do sometimes see some jumps. We occasionally see some regressions, too, on some coins, right, when it comes to new drivers. So hopefully it's all optimizations. Hopefully it's all good. Hopefully it's not bad at all, but we'll see. So, guys, with Ravencoin, though, with the possibility of Ravencoin bitstreams coming out really soon, it makes me more excited about FPGAs than I've been in a while. Frankly, I'm just real talk, I'm more excited about that. And not even just because of Ravencoin. X16R it opens up the doors to a lot of other stuff. Let's open up coincalculators.io. And let's take a look at some of the possibilities there. So coincalculators.io will allow us to I'm going to call up some coins here, just based on the algorithm. So X16R. And this is going to list everything that's not only X16R, but then is also, but that's prepended by X16R. So RT, like Veil. Or, let's see, again, Gincoin, also on RT. Let's just isolate anything that's RT. Veil and Gincoin. these are exciting projects. I mean, aren't they? So imagine having that much hash rate for one of these projects. Let's dig in. Let's just pretend like this is possible. I don't know if it is. But with Gincoin, for example, where you've got the possibility of holding any amount that you do want to hold as masternode collateral. And Roderick is calling out the DAG file size change or increase. So we'll see. Definitely see. Yeah, he talks about getting rid of 4 gig cards not being good or bad yet. I totally agreed. There are still people who are mining on 2 gig cards, like ancient 2 gig cards. So don't count those chickens till they're hatched. We're going to pretend like we're back in the 600 mega hash per second range. Again, guys, so much salt. Pucker up. We're just applying so many grains of salt on this. But let's just say 600 mega hash per second as this hypothetical, all singing, all dancing bit stream. at 350, at about 350 watts. So, and let's say that hardware cost is still 6K. Let's say that we're actually paying a pool fee now. Fine, we'll contribute. And let's calculate. Based on current difficulties, there you go. Daily profit is still $20 a day, and looks like daily rewards are at almost 150 coins a day, and it looks like within a week you got over 1,000 coins. Let me just double check on Gincoin to see. Oh, you know what? I can just click through to their project from here. Gincoin.io. Let's check to see what the collateral is necessary to be able to spin up a masternode. There you go. 1,000 Gin. Imagine mining that in a week. And then mining all of the collateral that you need to be able to pay your bills in a couple of days, and then having everything else for the month be pure profit. I don't know how realistic that is. Oh, somebody please edit that entirely out of context to make me sound even more stupid than I am. Because who knows if this is possible at all. But it's a pretty cool prospect, I think. I mean, isn't it? Imagine that. Imagine like this was, for example, this was the promise of coins like Ether 1 when it first launched, was being able to mine enough collateral to then spin up masternodes, or with Zencash, for example, with some of the heavier hitting ASICs that did that mined Zencash, being able to mine enough collateral if you had the right size fleet to then spin up masternodes one after the other, lock up some of your profits where it made sense, and then say, like, if you thought it was a coin that you wanted to hold, if it's a masternode coin, say, all right, I'm going to hold that in a masternode because I'm not doing anything with it anyway. If I'm holding it, I may as well hold it in a masternode. Or if it's a staking coin, right? Hybrid, proof of work, proof of stake coin, say, all right, I'm going to take the collateral that I thought I was going to hold anyway, and I'm going to stake with it. It just makes sense. That's in part one of the reasons that I'm excited about BitTube. Not the main reason. I'll be honest. Staking with BitTube is not the main reason I'm excited about it. And I don't think it should be the main reason you're excited about any coin. Staking by itself is not special. But it's cool if you can mine and hold. Yes, thanks, Gincoin. We know. And back over on Veil. Let's just say we got possibly the same thing going on here. 6,000. Power. Tray Fit A. $24 a day. Daily cost to operate of less than $1. So, I mean, I think you're seeing the power of if this is possible. Hold on, we didn't actually have the break-even point calculated for us on this, do we? What am I missing here? ROI, there you go. 250 days. Again, we're at under a year. So let's go back. Oh, come on. And then back to some other higher volume coins on X16R. We've got Bitcash that I think is over. I don't know if it's over half BTC daily volume, so that's a possibility there. Maybe it has kind of flirted with the top spot for profitability back and forth, on and off for a couple of weeks now. Raven Dark. Okay. But then we got Motion. Right? We'll say Motion is something that maybe we're actually interested in mining. and then maybe Galaxy as well. So, and then Zerk also, but that was kind of worth doing a little bit earlier. So, let's go with Motion. Again, doing our part, contributing Motion. It's a 6 Satoshi coin. You're sick! 6 Satoshi, that is. All right, so, but $11 a day. How much? Yeah, but unless I'm mistaken, I think Motion is also a masternode coin. Is that right? I believe so. You can actually, there you go. No, it is crowdfundings. Oh my gosh, guys, yeah. Thank you. I've totally been not showing you exactly what we got there. Thank you for the call out. I was just spacing it. But let's jump back over to... Oh man, I almost don't want to share it again. Face and no screen. Is that like eyes without a face? I'm sure it's the same thing. But guys, it's all right here. I had that opened up in the background, the Gincoin project, and I'm just going to do this one on screen one more time live to look at the possibilities right here. It's just a hypothetical again. Take this with so much salt that you want to die and your blood pressure is raised and your doctor's like, what's wrong with you? And you say, Seth told me to take this much salt. All right, power at 350. We're looking at about $20 a day with cost to operate of under $1 and enough collateral that comes from mining, or rewards coming from mining every week to spin up a brand new masternode on Gincoin. I'm excited about that. That's one possibility that I think makes sense here, guys. I don't want to belabor this too much. So let me jump back over. No, too late. Let me jump back over to the main point. So popular in FPGAs, we've got the BCU 1525. We've got the CVP13, which is popular in modular FPGAs today. Modular. Not an appliance, modular. Maybe we'll talk about appliance-based FPGAs in the near future. Not today. So, what's coming up? The FK33. And then where to start today? I don't know that I have really strong recommendations there. But what I am going to say is, based on some of the conversations that the FPGA community are having publicly, including Whitefire, this is maybe something to look forward to, an X16R bitstream, and who knows, maybe after that an X16RT bitstream, possibly, if the demand is there and if the volume is high enough and it doesn't shake up these networks too much. Gincoin and Veil would be the two top options. So let's look at Veil also and just check to see kind of what the possibilities are there. So current net hash. Not very high. So that kind of has me concerned. Using the hypothetical that we did before of there maybe being about 2,500 just CVP13s in the market, and knowing that the X16R bitstream is also going to hit BCU 1525, I would be worried about absolutely trashing Veil, just wrecking the Veil network with FPGA traffic alone, new FPGA hash rate alone. If that number is attainable, something in the hundreds of mega hashes per second, like say starting at 200 mega hashes per second and then growing all the way up to 600 plus mega hashes per second, I'd be worried about absolutely plundering the Veil network and just making it a completely untenable proposition for FPGAs and GPUs to coexist on the same network. Who knows? Maybe with Ravencoin, it's possible. We talked about it. If there are 2,500 CVP13s, for example, hashing at that extra high hash rate, using the ludicrous example of over a gigahash per unit, it would still only be about 3 terahash versus the 9 terahash, 9.5 terahash of the current net hash. So I'd be much more worried about coins like Veil and Gincoin. Let's take another quick look at Gincoin just one more time, just to make sure that we don't miss the net hash of Gincoin. And oh my gosh, yeah, even lower, 12 gigahash. Current net hash 14 gigahash. That would be devastating, absolutely devastating to jump on there with a 600 mega hash per second device. Oof. Yeah, that would be rough. Could really mess things up. So, yeah, I don't know. So some of the prospects right now, what gets me excited about some of the FPGAs and options right now is the possibility of X16R. I know that with the FK33, the development team has talked about it launching with x16R as a base configuration option. There will be a bitstream for that. As mentioned in the comments, and again, just kind of like total disclosure here, open disclosure here, they're obviously SQRL. They advertise openly that their hosted BCUs are already mining x16R with a private bitstream. They have not really talked openly about total like performance numbers there or optimization. We don't know realistically how well that's doing just yet. That might not be something that makes a whole lot of sense for everybody. And I don't know that it's necessarily like completely destroying x16R profits. x16R is still profitable enough that people are mining on GPU. So I don't think we can safely say that it's completely wrecking every network. And it could be that with BCUs that are hosted with x16R, again, going back to this, the coin listing right here on coin calculators and popping in x16R, we've got so many options here, right, that are strictly x16R. Right, Help the Homeless coin, also doing real. Hilux has enough Gravium, enough daily volume that you are going to have some miners that decide, like, I want to spec mine over here. I want to do Help the Homeless coin today. I want to spread my net hash around so that I'm not just hitting Raven coin. That may be what some people are doing because strategically it just makes more sense for them. You don't want to poop where you eat, right? So if you're a supporter of the Ravencoin project, you don't want to mine it to its detriment, right? Like decreasing your own profits, slitting your own throat. So there could be some people who are deciding to, spread that net hash around. Don't know for sure. Or they're just, they're skipping around to each one of the coins on a regular basis, rotating. But, without digressing any further, guys, that's what has me excited about FPGAs. Let me talk to you really briefly about what has me excited on the GPU side. And I've mentioned it before, and somebody brought up that MTPs are really strong on NVIDIA right now. I think in part that's because the Zcoin team has announced that they've been able to successfully... they've announced the block height at which they will change to Sigma protocol for their privacy. It hasn't been rolled out yet, but they've already rolled out the wallet that will be used and will automatically implement the new Sigma protocol at the correct block height. So looking at that really briefly, it's pretty exciting, right? This is only a couple of days ago that in Zcoin 13.8.1 rather, that Sigma privacy will be activated again on block 182.030. So that'll be later on this month, 23rd of July, and I'm sure there are a lot of miners who are looking at that. And Alex, such a nice chair. Dude, it is a nice chair. It really is. It really is comfy. But looking at this announcement alone, with the privacy that they're adding here, again, we'll talk about Sigma on another live stream. This isn't really at the time, but I'm just kind of in passing. I wanted to say this is one of the coins that has me really excited for GPU mining. And Merkle tree proofs they're really cool as a proof of work. There aren't many other coins that use it, which is good, right? So, oh no, Alex, here's the thing, man. I get so sidetracked. It's so easy. Here we are almost 2 hours later on this live stream. So guys, thank you so much. All the troopers that have been here for the entire live stream, thank you so much for being supportive. Really appreciate you being a member of the community. You're the reason I make this video, so you know it's true. But guys, I'm excited about projects like Zcoin that put privacy first, that value privacy, and they're actively improving privacy protocols. That really matters. We had somebody in the comment section ask before, like, why is mining difficult for you? And I had to, I kind of had to think for a second. It might be different for somebody who's coming from a different side of the world. We're so used to a sort of like Western perspective, whether we're from Western Europe or we're from North America. We're so used to thinking about it from our life experience, which is, frankly, we're coddled by comparison. So thinking about privacy and thinking about how that affects the lives of people who live under oppressive regimes, or the lives of people who live under like really harsh government sanctions, people who live in, for example, like my heritage, the country of my heritage, Cuba. It's, you can find US dollars there for sure. Obviously, it's funny. Trump, if you're watching, there are US dollars in Cuba. People bring them there all the time when they go on student visas or whatever, when they travel for vacation. There are plenty of US dollars in Cuba. But getting a hold of crypto would be way easier, and being able to use private currency to then be able to do all of those transactions into markets where it's more difficult, but where you want to help. I have a friend who has family in Venezuela. I have a friend who has family in other parts of the Middle East. So Yeah, this matters. Privacy really matters for those people who otherwise struggle to be able to help their families. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna wind it down. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Check out mineyour.biz/blog. Got plenty of free resources there, and we're adding more under the Mining Algos Worth Learning in 2019. We're going to update that for 2020. And put plenty of, this is just the hub article, where we're going to expand it into all of the other spoke articles for, yeah, all the other, it's a hub and spoke approach, right? This is the hub article, and then all the other spokes will be the various coins that you might want to learn about: Dagger Hashimoto, Cuckoo Cycle, Merkle Proofs, ProgPow, etc. You name it. RandomX, and moving forward, the list may grow onto those mining algorithms that we think are most relevant. So check that out on mineyour.biz/blog. We'll talk about privacy protocols very, very soon. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for clicking subscribe and clicking the bell icon so that you're notified when new stuff comes out. You're using to make this media. I love your face. I'll see you very, very soon.